Well, hello, friends. I can't believe it is the 9th day of December, and it is a very important chapter that we're looking at. Chapter 9 of Luke is the hinge chapter of the whole gospel record. Everything is now going to begin to turn towards Jerusalem, and what's going to happen there? It's turning towards the cross. And Jesus is going to speak about the cross and about his death and his resurrection in this chapter, but he's going to ask a very important question that still echoes today. Whom say ye that I am? In chapter 7, the people were asking, who is this? In chapter 8, they were asking, what manner of man is this? But now in chapter 9, enough has happened, they should know. And he asks them, whom say ye that I am? And Peter knows who he is, but they don't understand yet what he's going to do. It's going to take a little while, and you'll see their understanding is not quite there yet. Scene number 1 in this chapter, Jesus called his 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority over all devils and to cure diseases. His power he shares. He sends them out to preach the kingdom with nothing but a staff, no extra bread or money or coat even. And think of the faith that they were supposed to have being with Jesus. He's going to teach them a lesson of how to help others too. We've been feeding the 5,000 in this chapter. But first, they are to go, and villages everywhere receive the gospel. When they return, the crowds are so huge that Jesus takes everyone to a desert place, and it's near Bethsaida. And as the sun is going down, and we had a beautiful picture from this area of the sun going down that I like to show you. But as at this particular sunset, it's been a long day, the disciples say, send them away. And Jesus answers, give ye them to eat. They've got 5 loaves and 2 fishes, which is nothing really, but in their minds. But he takes it, this little boy's lunch, and he looks up to heaven. He blesses, he breaks it, he keeps giving and giving to the disciples to set before the multitude, and soon everyone has eaten, everyone is filled. 12 baskets of fragments are left over, and the lesson is unmistakable. The blessing always flows from Jesus to the disciples, from the disciples to the hungry crowd. We have nothing to set before the world until we first come to him empty-handed and let him multiply what we place in his hands. We have nothing, but he shares power, his power, not for us, but for to help others. Scene number 2 is the question that changes everything. One day, Jesus is praying alone, and we know from Matthew this is in Caesarea Philippi in the north. He's been walking and praying with them, and now he asks them, whom say the people that I am? And they answer, John the Baptist, but some say Elias, and others that one of the old prophets has risen again. We're going to read a little bit in this chapter about how even Herod was wondering, who is this? Is this John, who I beheaded, raised from the dead? But then he looks straight at them and asks, but whom say ye that I am? Peter answers, the Christ of God. And immediately Jesus confirms this, but he also tells them for the first time his main mission, that Christ must suffer, be rejected, be killed, and rise again the 3rd day. And then he adds the hardest words for them of all, if any man will come after me. Talking about not salvation, but discipleship, following the Lord. let him deny himself and take up his cross daily, daily holiness and sanctification. And let him follow me, Jesus said. Is he worth following? Who is this? Whom do you think that Jesus is? Is he worth following? Well, now the pinnacle, some would say, of Jesus' ministry happens next, just to confirm that he is worthy of this. Verses 28 to 36, his glory is revealed. Who is this? He's going to show them. In fact, God is going to tell them with direct words from heaven. This is 8 days later. He takes Peter, James, and John up another mountain to pray. They were in the north, we believe, at Caesarea Philippi, so we believe perhaps this would be Mount Hebron in the very north. But while he's praying, the fashion of his countenance was altered. His raiment becomes white and glistening. Moses and Elijah appear. They had both been on that same mountain in the past, and they're talking with Jesus about his coming decease. It says it in a strange way, his decease which he should accomplish at Jerusalem, his death that he will accomplish. His death will be unlike any other. It will accomplish so much. And then Peter, just waking out of sleep, blurts out something about building 3 tabernacles, but then a bright cloud interrupts him and overshadows them, and the Father's voice thunders, "This is my beloved Son. Hear him. He is worthy." The 4th scene in the chapter is when they're coming down the mountain. The next morning, as they go down into the valley, this desperate father is there begging Jesus to deliver his demon-tormented only son. The disciples had tried, the other ones that were still at the bottom, and had failed. And Jesus cries, "O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you?" And yet he casts the spirit out, gently gives the boy back to the father, and everyone is astonished at the majesty of God, the power of God that they see. Well, the disciples, very soon, they're thinking about power and Elijah and Moses and all these things, and they start arguing about who is the greatest. And Jesus sets a little child in their midst and says, "Whosoever shall receive this child in my name receiveth me. For he that is least among you all, the same shall be great." And then he reminds them of the work that's going to be involved. The final scene is they're going towards Jerusalem now. He has his face set towards Jerusalem. And these men are following him, but he reminds them of what's going to happen, the suffering that's going to be involved. 3 men want to join them. And the theme of this final section is hands to the plow. It's work. It's going to be difficult. And one of the men says, "Lord, I'll follow thee whithersoever thou goest." And he replies, "Foxes have holes, birds have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head." The second one is told, "Follow me." He has an excuse. "Suffer me to go first and bury my father." I don't believe the father's dead yet. He's saying, let me wait until later. And Jesus is saying, let the dead bury their dead. Go, the urgency, go thou and preach the kingdom. And the third says, I will follow thee, but let me go and bid farewell to them which are at home. And his heart is not quite there yet. And Jesus says, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God. Well, I've preached whole sermons on these, but just remember, in fact, I think we preached 4 or 5 sermons from this one chapter, from these 5 scenes. But there's one thing that ties them all together, one blazing heartbeat. Jesus is the Christ, the Christ of God, the glorious Son. He shares it. He shows his power. He shares his power, revealing his glory. carries his cross, sets his face towards Jerusalem, and he calls every one of us to follow him all the way to Jerusalem. So he still asks us today, but whom say ye that I am? And I pray that our answer can be the same as Peter's. And then may we learn, as Peter and the others did, that our lives after we're saved, by denying ourselves, taking up our cross daily, keeping our hands to the plow, never looking back, Jesus is worthy. Luke chapter 9. Then he called his 12 disciples together, and gave them power and authority over all devils and to cure diseases. And he sent them to preach the kingdom of God, and to heal the sick. And he said unto them, Take nothing for your journey, neither staves nor scrip, neither bread, neither money, neither have 2 coats apiece. And whatsoever house ye enter into, there abide, and thence depart. And whosoever will not receive you, when ye go out of that city, shake off the very dust from your feet for a testimony against them. And they departed, and went through all the towns, preaching the gospel, and healing everywhere. Now Herod the Tetrarch heard of all that was done by him, and he was perplexed, because that it was said of some that John was risen from the dead, and of some that Elias had appeared, and of others that one of the old prophets had risen again. And Herod said, John have I beheaded, but who is this? And of whom hear I such things? And he desired to see him. And the apostles, when they returned, told him all that they had done. And he took them, and went aside privately into a desert place, belonging to the city called Bethsaida. And the people, when they knew it, followed him. And he received them, and spake unto them of the kingdom of God, and healed them that had need of healing. And when the day began to wear away, then came the 12, and said unto him, Send the multitude away, that they may go into the towns and country round about, and lodge, and get victuals. For we are here in a desert place. But he said unto them, Give ye them to eat. And they said, We have no more but 5 loaves and 2 fishes, except we should go and buy meat for all this people. For they were about 5,000 men. And he said to his disciples, Make them sit down by 50s in a company. And they did so, and made them all sit down. Then he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed them, and brake, and gave to the disciples to set before the multitude. And they did eat, and were all filled. And there was taken up of fragments that remained to them 12 baskets. And it came to pass, as he was alone praying, his disciples were with him, and he asked them, saying, Whom say the people that I am? They answering said, John the Baptist, but some say Elias, and others say that one of the old prophets is risen again. He said unto them, But whom say ye that I am? Peter answering said, The Christ of God. And he straitly charged them, and commanded them to tell no man that thing, saying, The Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised the 3rd day. And he said to them all, "If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man advantaged if he gain the whole world and lose himself or be cast away? For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he shall come in his own glory, and in his Father's, and of the holy angels. But I tell you of a truth, there be some standing here, which shall not taste of death till they see the kingdom of God." And it came to pass, about 8 days after these sayings, he took Peter and John and James, and went up into a mountain to pray. And as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistening. And behold, there talked with him 2 men, which were Moses and Elias, who appeared in glory and spake of his decease, which he should accomplish at Jerusalem. But Peter and they that were with him were heavy with sleep, and when they were awake, they saw his glory and the 2 men that stood with him. And it came to pass, as they departed from him, Peter said unto Jesus, "Master, it is good for us to be here. And let us make 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elias," not knowing what he said. While he thus spake, there came a cloud, and overshadowed them, and they feared as they entered into the cloud. And there came a voice out of the cloud, saying, "This is my beloved Son, hear him." And when the voice was past, Jesus was found alone. And they kept it close, and told no man in those days any of those things which they had seen. And it came to pass that on the next day, when they were come down from the hill, much people met him. And behold, a man of the company cried out, saying, "Master, I beseech thee, look upon my son, for he is mine only child, and lo, a spirit taketh him. And he suddenly crieth out, and it teareth him, that he foameth again, and bruising him hardly departeth from him. And I besought thy disciples to cast him out, and they could not. And Jesus, answering, said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you, and suffer you? Bring thy son hither. And as he was yet a-coming, the devil threw him down, and tare him. And Jesus rebuked the unclean spirit, and healed the child, and delivered him again to his father. And they were all amazed at the mighty power of God. But while they wondered every one at all things which Jesus did, he said unto his disciples, Let these sayings sink down into your ears. For the Son of Man shall be delivered into the hands of men. But they understood not the saying, and it was hid from them that they perceived it not. And they feared to ask him of that saying. Then there arose a reasoning among them, which of them should be greatest. And Jesus, perceiving the thought of their heart, took a child, and set him by him, and said unto them, Whosoever shall receive this child in my name receiveth me, and whosoever shall receive me receiveth him that sent me. For he that is least among you all, the same shall be great. And John answered and said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him, because he followeth not with us. And Jesus said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. And it came to pass, when the time was come, that he should be received up, he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face, and they went and entered into a village of the Samaritans, to make ready for him. And they did not receive him, because his face was as though he would go to Jerusalem. And when his disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, Lord, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, even as Elias did? But he turned and rebuked them, and said, Ye know not what manner of spirit ye are of. For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. And it came to pass that as they went in the way, a certain man said unto him, Lord, I will follow thee whithersoever thou goest. And Jesus said unto him, Foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. And he said unto another, Follow me. But he said, Lord, suffer me first to go and bury my father. Jesus said unto him, Let the dead bury their dead, but go thou and preach the kingdom of God. And another also said, Lord, I will follow thee, but let me first go bid them farewell which are at home at my house. And Jesus said unto him, No man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of God.